Start? Okay, I'll start. We ready? Let's go.
Blown out of proportion. Calling me a fucking misogynist, saying I hate women. Fuck you. Got nothing against women. I've got nothing against black people. Oh, he said a mean thing to me on the internet. If I offend you, deal with it. You don't like what I say? Cry about it. Whine about it on fucking Twitter. Make a video about it.
Clever. That was a fun time when I was doing that.
Do video games ever make you angry? Whether it's an unfair death inducing some gamer rage, or just a general dissatisfaction with the game's direction or mechanics, I think everyone watching has, at one point or another, gotten upset at a game, even if it's one they're a big fan of. Sometimes your complaints are justified.
You're a boomer
sometimes
only
you're just
now learning
butthurt.
of YouTube
But what happens
features.
when your dissatisfaction for a product you once loved boils to such a point that you decide to take things into your own hands? Meet Zesty.
I mean, at least I don't act like that. Like, I don't throw a hissy fit and just start throwing shit around the room.
Jesus, whose real name is Joshua. Zesty is a 28-year-old Texan man who's been a huge fan of Team Fortress 2 and anime for his entire life.
I'm actually 29.
Despite what you might expect based on that description, Zesty is not a morbidly obese basement dweller. He's actually an athletic man with a staggering 6'7" stature who works a well-paying day job as a geophysicist. Though he's mostly unassuming on the surface, Zesty Jesus' highly controversial online career as a Team Fortress 2 YouTuber has shaken the game's community to its core.
So, I got questions about this picture. Like, people thought I was on an oil rig. This isn't an oil rig. What this is, it's a drill ship. So envision a really big boat, except there is a drill derrick in the middle of it, and there's a hole in the middle of the boat where the drill string goes into the water. And we sailed this ship out over to the Nankai subduction zone, where you have, like, the Japan Trench, where all the really big earthquakes happen. And we drilled into the active fault zone out there, and we installed earthquake sensing equipment down there. And it's been actively recording data for a few years now. So it was actually really fun to work with these guys, and we got a lot of good stuff done. We were on the water for about 22 days. It was good. So just some context for that picture. And yes, I am 6'7". That is my actual height.
And serves as a cautionary tale of how sharing opinions on the internet can end poorly, even if you mean well, and even if those opinions are regarding a 15-year-old video game. Joshua started his channel Zesty Jesus on July 13th, 2016, just to post funny TF2 gameplay clips. Those later moved to analytical video essays and streaming are what brought him into the limelight.
That video broke me.
Branding around Zes, his own version of the character Asuka from Evangelion. Zesty has not shied away from being attracted to this character, particularly due to her classification as a muscle girl, and he regularly commissions art featuring her. However insane that might sound, his older age compared to his contemporaries, his natural charisma, as well as the heavily edited and highly opinionated nature of his content made him easily stand out among the crowd of
okay, listen. Funny. But that was good. That was good.
Other TF2 YouTubers, and helped him quickly gain a small following on the platform. One thing notable about his videos is his unabashed use of copyrighted content. Many of his big videos have intricately crafted intros spoofing anime openings, and instead of compromising his artistic vision, Zesty always opts to sacrifice his videos' monetization to use copyrighted intro themes. Because of this, and how passionate Zesty clearly is about the game, even having a tattoo of it on his shoulder, he quickly gained a
Yes, I do actually have a tattoo of the TF logo on my back. You can see it right there. It is real. I'm going to get it touched up because the guy did a bit of a shit job, and I want to get it touched up and like have some extra details added to it. So
reputation in the community as, if nothing else, an exceptionally honest creator. He would often talk about good and bad weapons in the game and why he likes or dislikes them, conducting in-game tests to determine their efficacy. With his real-world background as a geophysicist making him uniquely qualified, and presenting his videos as sort of science experiments with hypotheses and use of the scientific method. And even among people who didn't particularly care for the guy, there was always a degree of respect afforded to him for the clear care put into his content. However, on top of being opinionated, Zesty was more than a bit abrasive as a personality and didn't really have much of a filter. As you could probably guess, these qualities would go on to get him into quite a lot of trouble.
I know I don't have a filter.
One of the earliest major controversies that Zesty embroiled himself in came on March 19th, 2021, when Zesty posted a video to his channel criticizing a third-party matchmaking platform for TF2 called Faceit. For a little context, TF2 has been facing a terrible botting and cheating problem for years now, and Faceit's new matchmaking system, featuring its own proprietary anti-cheat software, advertised itself to the community as a potential solution. This was incredibly exciting to many in the community, including YouTubers who eagerly created videos about Faceit and promoted it as the future future of the game. However, Zesty was more than a little skeptical of FACEIT, which made tons of people in the community who viewed it like the second coming of Christ very upset. Zesty.
So there is a lot more to say about this that the video doesn't go over, but I'll let the segment finish and I can talk about it later if people
FACEIT
care.
for advertising itself as a casual experience, despite being largely derivative of the game's competitive formats, for being deceptive about sponsorship deals they'd given YouTubers for promotion, and for having what he called a sketchy anti-cheat software.
I don't trust FACEIT that much, and I recommend that you don't either. Need I remind you, back in 2013, another gaming organization was caught mining Bitcoin on YouTube.
Can you tell I recorded this in my closet?
Client?
Can you
Zesty
tell?
buckled down on his position on
God.
FACEIT, releasing another video lambasting FACEIT and various YouTubers for what he viewed to be a violent shilling campaign for a misleadingly advertised sketchy service. Though he was noticeably calmer in this video, Zesty pushed harder on the angle that FACEIT was being
I
dishonest.
hate how I used to talk, man. I hate how I used to talk.
The vast majority of popular
I
opinion
hate it.
and attention about FACEIT
It sounded
comes from
terrible.
people
Oh.
who either knew about
It's
FACEIT
so
before its
grating to, like,
public
hear
beta
yourself.
release, indicating that they
Ah.
themselves were involved in its
I never
development
watch my old
somehow,
videos.
or
I never do, for that
two,
reason.
are likely being sponsored or compensated by FACEIT in some capacity.
In opposing the team behind the service and calling out other YouTubers who had worked with them, Zesty had made quite a lot of enemies in high places, and though his channel was small, the impact these videos had on FACEIT's reputation was anything but. This led to Zesty eventually getting into a public spat
The
with
fog
FACEIT on
is
Twitter,
coming.
replying to a meme they posted to say, "Fewer out-of-touch tweets aren't going to save this dying platform." Then the company's social media manager, Shork, responded to Zesty's complaint with a "cry about it" meme, to which Zesty said they actually need to work on this platform if they wanted to succeed, but I guess they're just relying on their social media to direct more transient traffic to it instead.
Okay, so I will still stand by that interaction that I had with Shork as completely unprofessional. Like, this is the guy hired by the company to be like their social media manager, but I bring up like a legitimate concern as mockingly as I did, but then to say, haha, cry about it, like, maybe you shouldn't talk that way to your customers, and also not someone who could, like, maybe help direct traffic?
In the moment, some viewed this whole interaction and the offense Zesty later seemed to have taken from the meme as petty and ridiculous. Zesty's use of a stone toss meme for the thumbnail of his video criticizing FACEIT drew the ire of some watchful eyes in the community. For the unaware, Stone Toss is a controversial comic artist who often satirizes sensitive social issues, often receiving the accusation from more left-leaning content creators that he is far-right or outright a Nazi.
Stone Toss is a semi-popular Nazi webcomic.
But since in this scenario, Zesty was fighting against the company's rollout into this beloved game, backed by huge YouTubers, this uproar he made about FACEIT gained him a reputation as somewhat of a consumer advocate for the TF2 community. He was willing to express his opinion,
by the way.
even in the face of outright mockery and derision by everyone. And despite Zesty's hostile approach definitely leaving something to be desired, FACEIT's TF2 service has proven to be largely a failure, and has not hosted a TF2 game in over 6 months, despite his continued success on social media and heavy funding. Which leaves a case to be made that Zesty was right on the money about the platform's longevity all along. However, this was only the beginning of Zesty Jesus' shenanigans. Perhaps one of Zesty's worst mistakes was to do an AMA on 4chan's TF2 general thread, officially putting him on their radar. His use of the Stone Toss meme and status as a hardcore anime fan makes his use of the site not much of a surprise to anyone, but unfortunately revealing himself as a poster proved short-sighted. Of course,
Been on 4chan since 2008. Admittedly, it's destroyed me, but I've been on there for far longer than anyone should be.
Of course, many in the TF2 general community quickly embraced and continued to herald Zesty as our guy, a real and honest creator amongst a sea of money-hungry phonies, as they put it. However, many other posters in the thread wound up noticing that, on top of being highly opinionated, Zesty had a tendency to get very mad at games, especially when he gets targeted. This marks the moment trolls decided to start stream sniping him and DDoSing
You
Zesty
can never
every time he
leave,
goes
baby.
live.
Once
A
you're
tradition that
here,
carries
you're
on
here
today and
forever.
has caused him to periodically retire from streaming the game from time to time. The annoyance this caused was the catalyst of Zesty's first cancelable offense. While venting in frustration about stream snipers in a private Discord, Zesty referred to those harassing him as mentally ill French T-slurs. This spelled trouble. By this point, Zesty had accumulated a surprising amount of attention for how small of a channel he was, and honestly still is. Him and his antics became one of the most popular things to discuss in the game's VG threads, and plenty of responses have been made to his more opinionated videos. Perhaps most notably was this autistic war between him and another YouTuber named Array7, where the two went back and forth making response videos to each other, arguing over whether TF2 had any future as a competitive game.
Okay, so yes, that I like how he calls it an autistic war because it very much was. So like we have this back and forth, and then at the end of it, Array and I like just are talking in DMs, like, or no, like no, I think we have, no, if I'm remembering correctly, we actually got in a voice call very briefly, and we were just kind of like, well, that was dumb. Why did we do that? It was pretty silly.
That being said, none of what's happened so far would even begin to compare to the next chapter in Zesty's career.
Ugh.
Catching wind of these slur incidents
God.
and Zesty's growing status as a content creator, a smaller YouTuber named Whammo then out of nowhere produced a call-out video on Zesty Jesus titled TF2's Worst YouTuber. This video criticized Zesty for being transphobic, evidenced by his previously mentioned use of the T-slur, being ableist, evidenced by him
That screenshot is talking with someone who is transgender, by the way.
referring to a player he was mad at in-game as a mong.
Don't sit there and farm, you mom!
Oh, and if you didn't catch that, Zesty called JPEG a mong, which is actually a slur for a
So
mentally disabled
dumb.
person.
Being fat-phobic,
so
evidenced by him
stupid.
once writing that fat chicks eat their feelings. Being racist,
So
evidenced
dumb.
by 2017 tweets in which he wrote the N-word with a soft A. And being a bully for getting a pro TF2 player kicked from his game lobby for farming. This video went somewhat
Whatever.
viral in the TF2 community and had a massively negative effect on not only Zesty Jesus' channel, but Whammo's channel as well. And due to the massive heat it received, Whammo later renamed it to TF2's Toxic YouTuber. I guess he thought that was more palatable than worst. It should be noted that by this point, Whammo didn't have the greatest reputation in the community either. To many, he was seen as a sensationalist and clickbait YouTuber, with some even finding it
If people have more questions about all of that, ask me at the end of the stream. There's like a lot of nuance to that gets glazed over. It's just the nature of YouTube videos. Like you can't get all of the details out there. So if people have specific questions or want me to give additional context on any of that, then I will.
laughable that he saw himself fit to criticize someone else's content and ethics, given his history of taking sketchy gambling sponsorships on his videos when he was younger. His relationship with
He
Face
did
was
ultimately
also
relent
caught
on
into
that. He
question.
did ultimately
Zesty,
say,
being
yeah,
the
I don't
abrasive
mean to...
personality
He
is,
felt
of
bad
course,
about
couldn't
taking
resist
gambling
but to reply to
sponsorships.
Whammo's video with a stream,
I'll give him
briefly
that.
re-uploaded to his channel, and with a couple of tweets. To summarize, Zesty defended his language against fat women by saying that they were old private comments he regrets making, largely inspired by his own weight loss journey, and stated that the old tweet using the N-word was a reference to the Eric Andre show.
The first tweet was a direct quote
With
from
Lance
the
Reddick!
Eric Andre show.
With Lance Reddick!
That I tweeted out
The fucking Lance Reddick episode! It's fucking hilarious!
And then the second tweet is me complaining about a homework assignment. Apparently that makes me racist.
He also said that the pro player who he supposedly had
I
gotten
hate
kicked for
people!
farming was
God!
not the server owner
It's
for
fucking the
causing
Lance
trouble,
Reddick
and that he was
episode.
booted independently of
Warp
Zesty's
speed!
input. Perhaps most interesting, Zesty called out Whammo for being friendly to him in private DMs, even acting like a fan prior to creating this hit piece that tore both of them down. Zesty also detailed the hate
need
he
a new
got following
desk.
Whammo's video release. He describes his personal phone getting flooded, and even briefly sheds a tear describing videos of animal gore and child gore people had sent to his work email. Whammo eventually
was pretty
removed the
bad,
video,
yeah.
citing the facts that both him
That
and
was- that was
Zesty had
actually
begun
really
getting
bad.
death threats and gore videos sent to them. However, Whammo's attempts to mend the bridge between them was never successful, as Zesty's perception of him had been irreversibly tainted. Whammo and Zesty have both failed to substantially grow their channels since this drama went down, with Whammo eventually leaving TF2 altogether to start a new channel, Internet Anarchist.
That
His
is
fresh
true, by
start
the
has
way.
been a massive
Whammo
commercial
is
success for
Internet
Whammo, with
Anarchist.
his new identity as a Sunny V2 type channel, and a well-publicized feud with Aiden Ross, helping him gain nearly 250,000 subscribers in less
Yeah,
than
it
a
is-
year.
it
But
is the
Zesty,
same guy.
meanwhile, has been left picking up the pieces of his part-time TF2 YouTuber career, dealing with continued harassment from not just 4chan trolls, but also trans activists on Twitter, all while managing his real-world job. Zesty has stated that since this hit piece happened, he has had his workplace targeted and withstood many concentrated attempts people have made to get him fired. He also claims that one of his harassers once left a physical note on his front door, and that he now owns a 9mm handgun for personal protection. Nevertheless, this newfound paranoia
Okay, to be fair, I purchased my firearms far before any of this happened. That was a little mistake. I didn't specifically purchase a firearm after this. I've owned it for a long time, so just to clarify.
It doesn't seem to have stopped him from speaking his mind in the slightest. For one, Zesty has recently engaged in a bit of a war against the game's community workshop. For those who don't know, Team Fortress 2 is a system called the Workshop, where fan-made items can be inducted into the game to be sold for a split of revenue between their creators and Valve. This has long been a great way for the game's community and its developers to mutually benefit from one another. However,
Why not a rifle? So, in the words of my father, if you shoot someone with a rifle, it will go through that person, through the wall, and then into the neighbor's house. And I don't want to do that. I would prefer something that would not potentially harm other people than the intended target.
However, in recent years, TF2's official support has taken a bit of a decline in activity, and its updates have largely dwindled to seasonal hat crates composed entirely of fan-made items, some of which Zesty considered to be of less than stellar quality or unfitting of TF2's art style. His most common criticism is that the creators of the new items add stuff to the game without taking into account the game's art style or being lazy through the use of clip art and stock images. He even started doing streams where viewers can send in workshop items to be rated by him. Zesty's crusades against the degradation of standards on the workshop has ruffled a lot of people's feathers, with members of workshop communities like the Emporium criticizing him for using his platform to attack and quote-unquote harass people.
They
much
really
less
do
popular
not
than him.
like
His
me.
rebuttal to this is that he's never intended or instructed
it's
people to harass anyone. Only
The Emporium really does not like me for a multitude of reasons, mostly based in sociopolitics. It's weird. It's a very weird group of individuals that operate the Emporium.
criticize them on his own, and that anything is fair game for criticism when you're posting it publicly.
Not
and
all
attempt
of
to
them.
get it
Some,
added into
not
a
all of
beloved
them.
game and profit off of it, which TF2 community contributors tend to do. Since then, however, Zesty has picked up the habit of regularly clarifying to his audience that he doesn't condone harassment of anyone.
And I don't. Like, don't go bother people.
On
It's,
December
like,
4th,
really
2022,
shitty for you to
finally
do.
chose to properly address
Don't bother
the last
people.
of his allegations, being transphobia and a twit longer. I typed the word T-slur a handful of times inside of my Discord. This was in response to a group of cheaters / stream snipers that would bother me while streaming. It was a group centered on 4chan. They were also transgender. They were also French. I called them French T-slurs out of anger as a result. I also typed T-slur in regards to saying they aren't.
No,
femboys,
yeah, I
and also
agree.
saying that at some point that I didn't realize it's
He
a
did his
slur.
research,
I also juxtaposed
which is
mentally
nice.
ill with T-slur, which led people to believe that I think transgender people are mentally ill. And I think I typed T-slur once when referring to a weapon name that contained the word in TF2. All of this was nearly 2 years ago. Someone screenshotted this, and it's been circulating the web ever since. I offended people by using the T-slur, which I do understand is an offensive word. It wasn't my intention to offend people, and I'm sorry if I did.
You sound
I'm not
like
transphobic
Freddy
in any way. I
Fazbear.
genuinely don't
What?
care how people live their lives, nor do I hold the belief that transgender people are mentally ill. I called this group of cheaters / stream snipers
No,
mentally
I
ill
know,
because I
it's-
believe it takes a certain level of mental depravity to go out of your way to stalk
I'll
and harass
answer
someone
them.
online.
We'll let the
However,
video
when people
play out.
began
There's not much
replying with
left.
instances of him liking posts from far-right provocateur Matt Walsh, Zesty's defense seemed to only make things worse in the eyes of the Twitter mob formed around him. I don't believe trans women should compete in the same sports leagues as biological women. I agree with Matt Walsh in that children should be treated very differently when it comes to identifying as trans. I don't hate trans people, no matter how much you want to believe it. The lengths you go to constantly hunt my profile
The
for
volume
this
of
is honestly
shit
disturbing. You
that
dig through my
one
likes and
tweet
follows.
got me.
It's not healthy to be this obsessed
My
with someone.
God.
Move on. If you didn't know,
My
invoking
God.
Matt Walsh might as well be invoking Hitler.
There's
on
a-
Twitter,
there's a
so despite
story
his
to
best
that,
efforts
and I'll
to
tell
convince
it.
him Otherwise,
I'll
people
tell it
still
now.
widely consider Zesty a transphobe on par with someone like J.K. Rowling.
Actually,
And
no,
if
I won't
anything,
tell
his
it yet.
reputation as such
There's
is worse
more
than
stuff
ever
that you need to
before.
see first. Just wait.
To many who feel upset with the modern state of TF2, Zesty Jesus remains an underdog champion, but through his brashness and his habit of feeding trolls, he's also quickly become a punching bag for many of the game's popular community figures. He routinely gets mocked by content creators several times bigger than him, such as Soundsmith ratioing him with a trans rights image, and Uncle Dane commenting on a compilation of him
Yeah,
getting stream
there's a
sniped
story
with
to that.
lol. Solar Light, a TF2 YouTuber with a sub count over double that of Zesty's, tweets about him constantly, and even once ran a campaign to get him suspended from Twitter.
Also
and he's
true.
often ruthlessly mocked by thousands of others on the platform, despite his attempts to defend himself and apologize for his wrongdoings. This post he made lamenting on the removal of the image spray system was brigaded by people calling him a Nazi and a porn addict. And in general, making fun of Zesty has become one of the community's favorite
So
pastimes.
dumb.
That's always guaranteed to bring laughs, no matter how far you take it. This user made it to the front page of the TF2 Reddit by spending $100 to display a message to everyone playing the game at one time that Zesty Jesus sucks and trans rights. Or how about people making fake AI apology videos by cloning his voice? The
This
lengths people
shit.
go to shit on him, honestly.
That shit is wild. One thing, right, is you spent $100 for something it was people from the Emporium, by the way. Some individuals from the TF2 Emporium pulled some money together, and they paid for that ring, and then made that happen. Right? And then, so there's that, and then there's this AI video, right? People are so desperate for me to say what they want me to say that they will pay money to get a piece of AI software and, like, play make-believe with my voice to, like, make me say what they want me to say. That's very disturbing to me, that people will go to such lengths to get that, right? It's just really strange. It's creepy, yeah. It's really creepy and disturbing. It's just, And they saw this as like some big epic own. If anything, it's like, dude, that's just fucking weird, man. Go outside, see the sun. Like the whole touch grass argument, but seriously, get some vitamin D. Maybe go get a milkshake and hang out like on a park bench for a while. It's like
sometimes gets a little bit creepy. Zesty's streaming
Thank you,
audience
Tom.
is
I
pretty
agree,
humble,
creepy.
but he seems to sometimes have a habit of not realizing who might be listening. And well, when you're a public figure, you kind of have to be worried. He has a lot of hate watchers who constantly clip him to try and get him in trouble anytime he makes a small remark about another creator he might not like. They claim Zesty is commanding waves of targeted harassment, despite the fact that his Twitch usually only broadcasts to about 100 viewers at a time.
So, in the quote of Solarlight, I swing my audience like a mace at people I don't like. Meanwhile, all of this. Soak that in for a moment.
He's now attempted to change gears in his videos about TF2 item submissions, focusing more on praising good community-made items rather than tearing down bad ones, but that doesn't seem to have had any effect on his reputation. Most recently, he's taken a stand defending decals in-game. Basically, TF2 has a system where you can upload user-made images to the game and put them on certain items, such as a melee weapon sign
or maybe it was
or
a
badge
flail. It
warning
was
your
either a
character's
mace or a
text.
flail.
There's recently been tons of talk in the community about how these sorts of things should be removed due to the fact they are sometimes used to display hate symbols. In response to this trend, Zesty did a whole video in June defending this feature's existence and pointing out that, though he is in support of a toggle to disable displaying them for streamers, removing decals altogether would be kind of silly since they've existed for over a decade now, and are
Such a dumb video. I don't understand what... I forget his name. The Shark Boy who made the original decal video. I don't know what was going through his head that he would think people would even be remotely receptive to the ideas he was conveying in that video. I don't understand why he thought that was a good idea. Like, holy... Like, I didn't even need to do anything. Like, the video was already bombing without me saying anything, because people could immediately recognize just how asinine all of the arguments were in that video. But I had to drive the point home, because... like I said, all of the really good arguments to that video were buried in the depths of a comment section. And I felt like I had to bring all of those to the forefront. Really, you guys made that video for me, honestly. Like, the entirety of that comment section wrote the script for that video. Like, you made that one possible. I just took all those ideas and put them together into a coherent string.
pretty well-established part of the game. Overall, it doesn't seem like Zesty's planning to stop ruffling feathers anytime soon. However, despite this hate he gets, and the hate that people claim he's responsible for, there's a case to be made that on top of having one of the most memorable runs in the TF2 community, Zesty has also maybe had more of a positive impact on the game than most other TF2 YouTubers. People in the TF2 community have loved to criticize and call Zesty's maturity into question ever since he began expressing opinions about the ecosystem and community surrounding the game. But the workshop content in-game has gotten measurably better since he started his tirade against it. And some have even pointed out the facts that items he specifically praises have often been getting added. In a video released shortly before the Smithmas 2022 update, he specifically showcased 6 cosmetics, all of which were then added to the game just a couple of weeks later. In the midst of this video being made, the summer 2023 update also released, featuring one of the most slick weapon war paint cases the game has seen in a long time.
Like, I didn't make better cosmetics happen. Like, I didn't make that happen. So what happened is I promoted items, I showed things that I liked, and then people went out of their way to upvote those items, and all of those items got bumped on the workshop, and then Valve saw those, they didn't have to dig very deep, and then they just picked those items. So again, that's another instance of everyone else making positive changes happen instead of me. Like, I'll certainly own that I was like the catalyst for all of this, because really nobody before myself was talking about just how fucking awful items we're getting in TF2, or just like the absolute decline of content. Like, I'm the catalyst, I acknowledge that, but everyone else went out of their way to, you know, speak their mind, speak with their mouths and their wallets, vote for shit on the workshop, not buy the garbage, not to promote the garbage, and we got better stuff, because that's how it works, right? You don't buy it, they go, oh shit, something's wrong, we should probably change what we're doing, and then boom. Which
some members of the Emporium have blasted for being too safe and dubbed the Zesty Jesus collection. This suggests...
Ah, God. Hey man, if my name's associated with that Warpaint case, I see that as a compliment. I don't see that as an insult, man.
Yes, that the attention Zesty directs towards items he likes is actually having an impact on what gets added in the game, which is more than can be said of a lot of other creators. Additionally, the Smith's Miss 2022 case is widely considered to be one of the best the game has received in years. There's no way around it. Despite the torrential hate and harassment he and his family gets for it, Zesty's policy of publicly dissuading bad cosmetics and affirming good ones seems to be doing good for the game. His impulse to explain himself does often dig his hole deeper. But all in all, he's for better or for worse definitely one of the most interesting people to come out of the scene, and has become one of the most notable creators in the TF2 community in a very long time. He's definitely done a lot of brash and easy to criticize things, and there's no denying he often puts himself in the line of fire by expressing his opinions so flagrantly. And frankly, he makes himself a pretty big target with his weird anime branding. Like, bro, what is this? You didn't need to do this.
Don't dog on me,
Zesty's
man.
A desperate lolcow or just an interesting online personality.
Don't dog
Go
on
without
me,
saying
come
that
on.
no one is deserving of having their workplace contacted and being harassed in the real world over video game opinions and old tweets and Discord messages. Getting mean comments on your ugly Vor Pride TF2 skin doesn't constitute harassment either. I've been Jerky John, and until next time, squeeze me a bone.
There you go. That is the video. So, yeah. So, okay, I guess I'll answer that. So, I guess context time for people that are interested. So, the whole Soundsmith thing, alright, so, to give the full story on that, what happened is, I made that tweet where I said what I said. I'm not gonna repeat it because YouTube will, you know, nuke me from orbit if I do. So, I said what I said in that tweet. And then Soundsmith did his tweet, and it basically turned my life upside down for about 48 hours. What happened was, at the time, I was in Chicago for a conference, and the whole tweet thing happened the day I was leaving, and I took a train to Chicago. I didn't take a plane because I hate flying. Taking a train is longer, but it's a lot cheaper, and I was gonna take a train home, take an Amtrak train home. And that happened the morning I was going to go home, and it was almost an immediate shit show right off the bat. So within several hours, my phone got compromised. Someone like found my phone number and was spoofing my phone so hard that I could not use it. And I had a digital train ticket that I needed to scan in order to get on my train, and I didn't have a paper copy. So I had to like frantically get my laptop and go down to the hotel lobby and get a copy printed so I could catch my train. So that was the first thing. I almost got stranded in Chicago. I almost missed my train. And then like that, and thankfully that ended rather quickly because it turns out they were all like coming from the same number. So I was able to block the numbers and I could start using my phone again relatively quickly. It was just like a lot of crazy shit going on. So that happened, and then as I'm on my train, or I'm about to leave to get on my train, this is, you know, sometime after the tweet happened, you know, the usual slew of very fun messages that you get from people, you know, the whole, you know, end your own life, you're a terrible person, you know, like at this point I'm used to seeing, you know, very graphic images of various types. Those all came within several hours of that tweet happening. And then on the way home, someone sent me an email with a photo of the front of my parents' house. Someone showed up to my parents' house and from the street took a photo and said that they're going to kill my dogs, they're going to kill my father, and rape my mother and sister. So I, you know, called home and made sure to, like, ensure that, like, my family was aware that, hey, people are showing up to my home, or to your house, which is my old address. That's not my current address, so my parents' house is currently online. And I told them, hey, people are coming to the house, you know, just be aware of that, and defend yourself if need be. So, yeah, and my work email was also compromised, or I should say one of my work emails, I have 3. One of my work emails was compromised, and that started sending a bunch of random shit to some of my colleagues. That was very annoying, having to explain why some people got very explicit images in their inbox, and very embarrassing and not fun to deal with, because that also very much hurt some of my professional relationships, so that was, like, not good. So, yeah, that was a very fun 48 hours. So, hey, Soundsmith, thanks, man. That was very kind of you to use your audience that is, you know, 6-7 times my size to like, haha, we're gonna show this guy. You're a really nice dude, I bet, in person. God. Yeah, that was a fun time. So, yeah, that was the fun tweet.